Hey guys, TKC here, the Kaijudo channel. I'm going to change things up a bit here. No Kaijudo news this week, not too much to talk about, so I'm going to go ahead and do something that I haven't done in a very long time, and that is a deck profile. Yes, I haven't done a deck profile in like a really long time. I think it's been like a set or maybe even two sets ago that I did one. So here it is, the Veil Slit Megaria deck I was talking about last week. This is the deck I used for fun at the Community Cup, and I also used it at a duel day once, and I might use it in the future if I, work it to be a little bit more consistent. But anyways, the basic concept of the deck is you want to cast Megaria the Deceiver as much as you can and cheat those really big super rares that you see in the corner there into play a lot earlier than you usually would. Now, this is basically my fallback solution to Bottle being retired. So this is pretty much, almost the same idea, except now you have to use Darkness because of Megaria the Deceiver. So I guess I'm going to go ahead and start from the top left where all those fat boom booms are. Let's start with Eternal Haven, of course. There's 3 copies of it right now, just kind of testing it out. I might personally cut this down to 2 and then add either an Andromeda or a third Cassiopeia Starborn, but still testing it out. Haven's just a monster, of course. You play it, and then you could potentially play one of your mini blockers, Full Metal Lemon or Aqua Strider, and then they become basically 7,500 or 8,000 power blockers for you. You also draw a card every time you attack and every time you play it, so that's always a really good thing as well. Even if you don't get a blocker, it's not a big deal. Right next to it is Cassiopeia Starborn, the new super rare from Invasion Earth. Absolutely insane effect, especially if you chain back-to-back ones. You play Cassiopeia Starborn, boom, all their whole field is locked. Now, they could attack on their turn if they have fast attack, which is kind of the downside of Cassiopeia Starborn, but Cassiopeia Starborn is a 12,500 triple breaker and a dragon at that, so it's just absolutely really powerful effects. So I'm personally thinking about cutting a Haven for a third Cassiopeia Starborn because, just playing back-to-back of that is just really, really powerful. Only 2 Andromeda of the Citadel. I didn't feel that 3 was really necessary, especially in this deck, which is only 40 cards, and it also has 3 Crystal Memories as well. So if you're really desperate for Andromeda of the Citadel, you can still find ways to get to it. But I felt that 2 was, just enough. 1 King Tritonus. This has been changed left and right. This used to be a Finbar's Dreadnought. It's basically, a draw 2, and then it protects all your big cards from getting sent to the discard pile. The only discard pile recursion in this deck are the Megaria, the Deceivers themselves, so there's not really much ways to get back cards, and that's why Finbar's Dreadnought was like a nice answer to protect your big creatures, because they go back to your hand. But I'm not really sure about that yet. I used Finbar's Dreadnought at the Community Cup, and then I used Tritonus at a duel day, and they both are good in their own ways. I personally like the Tritonus a little bit more, but it still needs some work. Tritonus is still a really good monarch, drawing you 5 cards, and then you just play spells and lock stuff for days. It's especially good in decks that use Sprout, because Sprout is just a cheap spell, so it basically turns into a level 2 lock something. There's also Crystal Memory that you can go and dig for something at the same time you lock something. There's just a lot of combos there with Tritonus, so that could easily be a Finbar's Dreadnought as well if you'd like. I'm going to go down to the bottom left here, and let's go to the Nature Boom Booms, and that's 3 Kurgar of the Horde. Now, Kurgar of the Horde is basically just more copies of Bottle of Wishes in a way. I might cut this down to 2 and replace it with a third Almighty Colossus, and just to put this out there, this deck was kind of made based on limitations in a way. I only have 2 Cassiopeia Starborn, and I only have 2 Almighty Colossus, but if I did have 3 of each, I probably would be bumping each to 3 and cutting 1 Haven and 1 Kurgar, but that's just me. Kurgar, like I said, it's just another, way to cheat stuff into play, but usually at that point in the game, you're going to be just playing stuff left and right, and you don't really need it too much, so that's why I'm going to probably cut one of the Kurgars for an Almighty Colossus at the very least, because Almighty Colossus is just absolutely insane, especially if you get it off the Megaria the Deceiver. Boom, it comes into play. It pretty much 95% of the time is going to get rid of a creature on your opponent's side of the field, so that gets taken care of. And then even better, you can also, cheat even more stuff into play using its ability. I don't have too many nature creatures in this deck. The Primordial Roar ability is really not the main focus of Colossus. It's mainly just there to get rid of a big creature and at the same time powering up your other nature creatures. So it boosts your Lemon, it boosts your Kivu, it boosts your Kurigar, or it boosts your other Colossi. Alright, so that's it for the bomb cards that you would play off of Megaria the Deceiver, but let's go straight back to Megaria here. Now this card is pretty much half of the main point of the deck, the main point being you want to play Veil Slip in combination with Megaria the Deceiver as early as turn 4 to basically cheat stuff into play. Megaria Deceiver is just absolutely nuts. For 7, you get a 7,000 power double breaker that also has the potential of summoning one of those big super rares for free. Otherwise, you'll be getting a small blocker, or you will be getting a spell that you can recast on the following turn. It's really funny when you get Veil Slip again, because then you could just do the same thing you did the turn before and play Megaria again. But overall, Megaria is just, an absolutely insane card. It just has so much value, and the championships prove that even further. Now, right next to Megaria Deceiver is Val Malvictus. Now, this card is also really awesome. It's basically kind of like my Drillstorm in a way, but it's better because I can Veil Slip the Val Malvictus into play, and then boom, all of their creatures lose 3,000 power, and it just, for the most part, wipes their board. It doesn't get rid of most evolutions, and it doesn't get rid of General Finbar, sadly, but it does take care of a lot of other problems, especially those weaker rush creatures, or even a lot of the corrupted creatures as well. So Val Malvictus is just really, really powerful. Lastly, for slightly bigger creatures, we have Kivu Ingenious Shaman. I guess this could also be another Veil Slip target. I mainly have Kivu in here for the water and nature mana. The water is mainly so I can, consistently cast my Veil Slip or my Crystal Memory as early as turn 4. And then the nature is there because I want to get Sprout off on turn 2, and because it's another target for Almighty Colossus. So this deck doesn't really have much discard pile recursion, except for Megaria, of course, but it does have mana recursion, which is really nice. So usually in the first few turns, you're going to be dumping your super rares into your mana zone, so Kivu's kind of there to just kind of get them back when you need them, so that's kind of useful. Then lastly, for the creatures, there's the blocker suite there, the 3 Full Metal Lemon and 3 Aqua Strider. Lemon's awesome because it ramps you, and it's also a nature target for Almighty Colossus. It's also, just more nature cards in general. It's mainly for Sprout and for Almighty Colossus, so that you can consistently play them. And then Strider, because it's pretty much the best earliest blocker you can play. Now, moving on to the spells, on the bottom left, we got 3 Sprout here. 3 Sprout is, pretty essential. Unfortunately, there's only 14 nature cards in this deck, so turn 2 Sprout doesn't happen too often. It probably happens like 1/3 of the time. But when it happens, you're really happy, because then you can go like Sprout into Memory, into your missing piece, and then turn 4 you play Veil Slip into Megaria, and then boom, you get Colossus, and then you pretty much win from there. Now the problem with the Sprout into Memory into Veil Slip plan is that when you play all those cards, your discard pile is already filled with spells, which is something you don't want to see with Megaria the Deceiver, but it's not too much of a problem. Like, at the very worst, you'll have like a 1 out of 6 chance of hitting a creature, because there's a lot of creatures in this deck, but the odds are generally around like 1/3 to 50%, if not higher, of hitting a creature, because there are a lot of creatures in the deck. I believe there are 26 creatures in the deck, so it's plenty of targets. That's 2/3 of the deck right there. So Sprout is basically there to just speed up the deck and get to the big drops and get to the whole Veil Slip plan. 2 Tendril Grasps are in there mainly for rush, but it's also really useful to kind of ramp yourself as well. If it gets to the point where you're just playing a lot of blockers and you're stalling out your opponent, and your opponent's basically just trying to play creature after creature and then find some way to get past all those blockers, whether it be like General Finbar or Stormspark everything or whatever, you can kind of like turn the off switch on that plan by playing Tendril Grasp, and at the same time you're ramping yourself with your blockers. I've actually done that a couple times, including once at the Community Cup, where I played basically like back-to-back Striders or something like that, something absurd. I had 2 or 3 blockers on the field. He had a bunch of Mega Bugs on the field, and then boom, I played Tendril Grasp, and then I went from 4 or 5 mana up to 8, and then like every turn after that was just boom, 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 super rare. 3 Crystal Memory is really important in this deck. First of all, it's more water, which Veil Slip really likes there, and also it's basically the card that lets you dig for the missing part of your combo, whether you need Veil Slip or whether you need Megaria the Deceiver. Sometimes you could even go grab Val Malvictus, because you realize they're really rushing you hardcore, and all those creatures are really weak, so you can just go boom, Veil Slip, Val Malvictus, clear your whole field, and go. And then the best part is that you still have the Val Maledictus in your hand after you do that. So, later on in the game, you could do that same effect again, which is really, really powerful. And of course, the Veil Slips are there. I don't really have to talk about this too much. It's basically the bottle of the deck in a way. Megaria is the bottle effect, but Veil Slip is the card that allows you to play it on turn 5 or maybe even turn 4 with Sprout or Full Metal Lemon ramping you. The best part is it's a shield blast as well, so if they hit it in your shields and you somehow have a level 8 or less in your hand, boom, you could just play Megaria from your hand, and it basically acts as a bottle, which is just really, really crazy. And then lastly, to top things off, 3 Terror Pit, needed that hard removal, especially for things like Helo Flame attacking your shields. Terror Pit is the only answer to that, sadly, and it's just there overall just to get rid of something big or something really annoying on the field. And it's more darkness. I need more darkness. Megaria and Val Maledictus is not enough. Queen Kalima was another option, I guess, but most of the time it wouldn't hit darkness cards with its effect. So, I figured, okay, I might as well just put Terror Pit. I need more blast. I need more darkness. Terror Pit is the obvious inclusion there. So there you have it. This is the 40 card Veil Slip Megaria deck I came up with and used at a couple of tournaments. A really, really fun deck. It's very similar to all the bottle decks I've posted in the past. Feel free to leave your feedback in the comments. I could definitely use some tips for this deck. There's just a lot of different possibilities with this, especially with Veil Slip and all the level 8 to 6 targets you can hit off of it. So yeah, guys, this is TKC, the Kaijudo channel, signing off. See you later, guys.